also post it so that others can follow from your end.
That's fine.
Yeah. So we're basically here to learn from you, to learn all your experiences in the making of your journalism, all what you have done. So other people, particularly on the African continent, can also draw inspirations from your experiences.
Yeah, so I'm sending the link now, guys.
All right, cool. The world is in an age of sharing.
Yeah.
You know, we believe that if we continue to share ideas, the world would be a better place. Who is that? Is that
It's
Wait,
Brian, it's Brian in Nigeria.
No, I wish. I am in College Park. I am in College Park. Nigeria is fascinating. Nigeria is very fascinating. Like, I love to learn new places. It makes my head feel big. So you see, you know when you start imagining things.
Where are you from?
I'm from Cameroon, but I'm currently in College Park, Maryland.
Oh.
Yeah, so Nigeria fascinates me, like in terms of culture, foresight. That there's just a lot going on. It's a busy place.
Nigeria?
Yeah. Like when I studied Yoruba philosophy, the way I looked at Nigeria just changed.
You studied Yoruba
Philosophy.
Are you for real?
I studied Yoruba philosophy. Isaac,
Yoruba
I sent the link.
philosophy?
Yes, man. When I studied, yeah, when I studied
Yoruba
like,
You speak Yoruba though?
I don't. I picked up some words like Ori, Oludumare, what else? Ifa Diviners.
Okay.
Yeah, and I picked up those and their whole idea of their metaphysics, where there is this God, where they say the Ori is both the head and the destiny. That before you're born, you pick your destiny and then you forget it. There's that tricky God, and then you forget it, and then your mission now is to gravitate towards your DNA.
That was what
destiny.
it was way back.
Yeah.
I doubt that people believe in that anymore. Maybe some people though, but
Yeah.
not the generality of Yoruba people.
Yeah. Oh, I see. But it's a very good. When I studied it, it gave me so much perspective. So Isaac, I
So
sent
it's
the
okay, I'll
link.
send you the
So
link.
you,
Sorry,
yeah, we
Brian.
can share on the social graph. Let me share on my page too.
Okay, I've sent you the link so you can share on
Yeah.
your social graph.
Yeah, man. Like, it was true. You know, sometimes when we take courses, you journalists, I don't know if you have that experience, but have you been in a situation where, let's say, you take a class or you go somewhere and they're trying to describe something that you know by practice, they're trying to conceptualize it. Let's say even the idea of what is good, right? Good or evil. Like, I used to take courses where we were trying to create a formal system for ethics, just like how people create a formal system with numbers 0 to 9, means of adding them, subtracting them. Like those are things that those in the past they captured the theories
Totally.
out of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you sit and they try to do that, it's really amazing. So I saw that come to life for Yoruba culture, like how knowledge flows in the society, what is considered legend. I think one is Gbagbo, one is Igbagbo. Like if you tell me,
That's faith.
exactly. If you tell me like your grandfather fought in a war, it's like legend. I wasn't there, unless my own grandfather that I know that he went there was there and saw your grandfather. That's when I really believe it. So we had to trace and it made me understand the African psyche, see, and essence of oral history and all of those things. So Niger.
I'm sure because many people here would just not bother with stuff like that. I have to end this. I have to end this for me to be able to copy that.
No worries.
So
All right.
The
I
link is
feel
there.
like
You
we
could
could
always
end this
join.
and come back. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm sharing. Oh, boy tag.
But
Do you
it's
understand what
like
he's
you've been
saying?
listening to. Where is our Africa this thing now? Why are you changing? Where is our Africa?
Yeah, it's there. I'll put it. It's just some of his songs to me they're like feel. They're like
All right.
yeah. It's like feel espresso. You see what I mean? Like it gives me some kind of energy. It's like you see what I mean? So these guys, I
Yeah.
always go back. I always jump through the songs like Boy Tag. Like there's a lot of force. You know, like a new artist coming out, that the confidence, the discovery. Like don't be surprised if as he's rapping and listening to himself on those first songs, he's like, "Oh man, is this me?" And then he there is victory there, and when there's victory, there's a motivation to pump more gas, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you see artists. So when they come up, man, they're so powerful. So this is a very old song actually from Boita when he was starting, 2012. He did a remix.
Of course, the break when you break through.
Yeah.
I mean, the morale increases.
Yeah.
You know, the morale, the confidence is confirmed.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely you must feel that way, and it even affects the music too.
Yeah.
You see the tone of the music will change. You know, I was Joke said something and she has left. She said a lot of people, you know, do not really, they do not care much about the histories, especially like the Yoruba mythology.
Yeah.
You know, well, maybe because I read drama and all of that, you know, and I got to understand the essence of. I know that it's a very powerful, you know, history, or is a very powerful tradition,
Yeah.
and not so very different from what we do in the mosques and yeah,
Yes. That's what fascinated
yeah,
me. That it was complete.
yeah, not so different.
It was complete too. That's what like fascinated me. It's not like half baked. It
Yeah,
captures
it's
all
not.
your reality. The same way that
Yeah,
a Christian can tell you uh, of how to live life here and what to expect after death, heaven, and all of those. These ones, the pictures are even clearer. So yeah, yeah, the pictures are even clearer. Like the that's why I understood like the essence of the Baba Yalo is Baba Yalo, right? The book that we read, it's actually I think an American. He was my professor's friend, something like that. Or my professor knew him or like liked his works. So he was in Nigeria and he decided to is it British? Yeah. I'll look for that book. He decided to learn about where he is than for him to like just impose his own. So he created a whole faculty for Yoruba studies in one of his universities. And then he did
in America.
research. No, they're in Nigeria. He worked in Nigeria. So instead of him to just come and be telling them Western things, he decided to study the environment. So he came up, he discovered these wonderful things in these philosophies that he actually, that's what I'm saying, it gave me the chance to understand the African psyche. Psyche, the foundation as spiritual beings, like was
Yeah,
captured, was epitomized in this whole culture that was complete from everyone,
yeah,
from the rules of the gods, the rules of the
yeah,
ancestors for the dead, the rules
yeah,
of the spiritual guys, the diviners, the rules of you as you go and how to use the whole system to connect with your destiny.
with your essence, you know, basically, you know, I sometimes I always feel like, do I regret, especially having come to Topo spaces and people we've been talking with,
Yeah,
you know, we spoke to the Babalao, we spoke to James George,
yeah,
not James, yeah, James George and Jackson,
yeah,
you know, uh, all those discussions, you know, brought me to realize that I mean, Africa is so powerful, man.
man.
You know, Africa
Yeah,
is so powerful. You
yeah,
know, and do I want to regret that we were punctured. Our essence was punctured. Do I want to regret about it? That why did this white man came and punctured our civilization?
Yeah.
But then I tell myself that why should I regret it? It's a journey. Life is a journey.
Yeah.
So maybe what the phase that Africa is going through now, with this acculturation of the white man, maybe it's going to take us to the next level. I just hope we realize it. But
Yeah.
then we really lost a lot of things, and it's really good. It's very important for every African to try and get in touch, with
Yeah.
the essence of Africa.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's amazing. Welcome back. You okay? We're just talking about like,
Hi.
yeah, we're just talking about the strengths of like what we have in Africa. On my part, right, Isaac, like when I think of these things, I try to I actually fell into some kind of skepticism. As we age, there are times when we start doubting things, and so I started doubting the essence of practicality and idealism, like realism and idealism. Remember, I always talk about that. So it made me to try to paint this pragmatic picture, this picture of the practicality or reality where civilization itself is an organism where an organism is a collection of different parts. You as a person, you have digestive system and everything, right? And you age. You are born and you
Totally.
age, and you could have accidents. You could have things. So if we look at civilization like that, the age of that civilization could span hundreds of years or thousands of years. So there are times when it could be at its worst, like maybe having a headache, having a chest pain, and then the people there can come. So that's why we can just patch it instead of us looking at it and crying and saying, "Oh, what can we do?"
Yeah,
Yeah, if we don't work
yeah,
on it, nothing will
yeah.
happen. So
But
it's like we need to work out.
but for me, reality is that this generation of ours, I
Yeah,
mean, from maybe would I say from the 19th century
yeah,
or the 18th century,
yeah,
we've had to suffer the consequences of that infraction.
yeah. What
Yeah,
else?
because I mean, when we grew up, our grandfathers didn't look like people that were stressed up. They didn't look like people that they were desperate. They were people that were just living their life and enjoying the ways of their life and just moving on with life. There was nothing stressful
I,
in them and all of that.
I think their reality was different, was really different. They have a very different reality from what we have. And just like we have a different reality from what our parents have.
Yeah,
So we can't touch base with what they faced. Now I'm not sure they'll be able to touch, feel what we are feeling right now.
yeah,
But certainly the realities are like far apart. So what they would refer to as stress way back isn't what we would probably be able to manage. But believe me, they had their own kind of stress. It may not be, in the way that we have it with government, infrastructure, and things like that.
yeah.
But they certainly, did have their own kind of stress. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I mean, in line with that. Oh, sorry, Jackie, can you please rotate your picture?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at you like
the-
this.
So I'm kind of like
Oh
I'm
wow,
jumping over
mashallah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just going to change the orientation.
yeah, and
This
and
works.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Very
and
well.
even about challenges, right? Challenges don't just come like that. Those who are religious or spiritual, they say that God gives you what equals you. So and Newton too summarizes that in like the evolution of everyday events by saying that every action has an equal but opposite reaction.
Opposite
So
reaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
so even if the reaction is not like voluntary, there are some systems. Biologically, we have the parasympathetic systems that our hearts just beat without us even making them beat. You see, so our grandparents, by understanding their culture, when you have a culture that explains that positions you in space and time, and where you have the ability to understand it for all of eternity, then you are at peace. So in the sense that if, for example, I'm sitting here and I know that God put me here, for this who are spiritual, God put me here, God has a plan, all wise. That understanding alone makes it I'm just chilled. You see, so and then when things happen, I see them as problems to solve on this playground of earth. You see, so I think our grandparents, by understanding their traditions, where the metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics are all packed and taught to them, then they can interpret everything. Or even if they fall short, it will take shorter times for them to connect back to reality using their culture, and so they will be at peace. But then we were disrupted, and we lost that. So that link is like a file on the computer that the link is broken somewhere. How do you go back to the source? Yeah. So that's how I see from what you're saying. That's what comes to mind.
Yes, I just wondered
Totally.
if sorry, I just wondered if our parents, there was any form of journalism back then. What did the Yoruba mythology have any form of journalism?
I
Did
think they, I
did
think, I think they had their form of journalism, or more like their form of mass communication. It wasn't necessarily, the newspaper that we have today, or but obviously they had mediums to which they disseminated information. They
Town
when they
crier.
had, news.
the
There was
town crier?
town. They had the town criers. They had the what was it called now? There were these birds. I think it was
Oh yeah,
pigeons. They were trained in a way that they could carry information from one place to another.
an ouse.
Oh
So
my
they
god!
had all sorts. A talking
Oh my
drum.
god!
Don't forget,
An
they
ouse.
Oh
had the
my
talking
god!
drum. Interesting pieces, but
Oh my
they
god!
obviously did come till today. You have families, Yoruba families, that still understand past messages across using the talking drums. So
Wow.
Yeah.
maybe not journalism in its old form, the way we have it now, but they did have their own forms of mass communication, of just communicating and passing messages across, passing news across. So
Mashallah.
definitely they did have that.
Mashallah.
It was
As crude
journalism.
as it may sound
Yeah.
now, yeah, it was
It was. I
some form, yeah,
mean,
exactly. Because
yeah.
when you look at the total essence of journalism, which is communicating
Uh-huh.
as they, it sufficed at the time. They were able to do that with what they had.
Wow. Yeah,
I mean, if
yeah.
go ahead,
Sorry.
Brian.
I mean, if you look at Mali, for example, they have the griots. The griots are still there. If you read the story of Sondiata and Sumanguru, there are times when I first, even the literary devices they use, it's like it just connects to my soul. Is if you look at the ancient Greek way of thinking that we're in heaven, we were in heaven, the soul was in heaven and it's perfect and learned everything. Just like the Yorubas, you see a whole destiny and then you forget it and you come back. You can still tap into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can still tap into it provided you have the right tools, spirituality, whatever it is. And for the Greeks and Egyptians, it was dialectics, asking the right questions. You could find out things that transcend like space and time. You see. So the
I
griots,
mean,
yeah. So the griots, when I read the griots works, I see what they do. It animates my soul. Why
spell
I'm
spell spell that word, Brian. The grills.
Griot, the griot.
Gree, I
See,
think.
let me see. So if you read the way it happened,
G
Griot. I can share my screen so you see. I just touched it. So we have not even introduced Joker and we're just jumping like we're
Yeah,
just
we didn't
chatting
even
and
introduce
yeah.
Jockey.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll finish it and then we'll introduce her. Is this thing where they say you start at the end, go to the middle, and then end with the beginning?
Yeah, it means that she's really interesting to come on Topo, and this is what
Exactly.
Topo is about,
Yeah.
Joke.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why Brian had to break the flow today because he has always wanted a smooth, we just get into the conversation. But of course, we need to introduce you,
Yeah.
and
Right.
so that our viewers will know, those who are joining, those who didn't get to see
Yeah.
the, what do you call it, the flyer. Joke,
Yes. Yes.
at Joke, you can see her. She's a journalist, a venerable journalist with a lot of experience over spanning more than a decade. Joke has covered the high and mighty of Nigeria. A lot of people don't know that. In terms of Nollywood, the manufacturing industry. I saw your interview with Innocent. That was incredible. Innocent Motors. Innocent Motors is the guy, the the Nigerian who is producing cars locally in Nigeria. Brian, we did something
Yeah, we did
this
so.
sort
Yeah.
about
Oh, I
something
remember
similar.
there. Yeah. Yeah. Right. I do.
Yeah. So, Joke, we're happy to meet you. We like you to take us on your journey. From the very beginning, 2 years,
Mm.
when you were 2 years, how you evolved and became a journalist.
Oh, yeah, evolving. Well, so let me start. If I have to go way back, it's going to be a really, really, really long story. But then, I'll try and make it very brief.
Take your
No, please
time.
make it as long. You see,
As long as it
make
can
it as long
be.
as
Yeah.
Take your time. I don't look like I'm in a hurry for the next
Yeah, you don't look like
one
you're in a
Yeah,
hurry.
30 minutes.
you know what interests us is the rough work. Brian, tell her about the rough work.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, Joker, like you want the furniture in your office. You probably meet a carpenter, and then you go back, give your specs, and go back home. The carpenter will get in the workshop, do all the work, sweat, nail his fingers, nail kick his legs up and down, and then
Totally.
present the chair. You don't see what he did. You just got the chair. So
Mm-hmm.
mostly, people like you are like that. Like people don't see the rough work. They just see you give the solution. It's like you write an exam, do all the rough work on a piece of paper, and hand in just the answer sheet. So
Yeah.
we feel like that way empathy is kind of reduced. If we can see
Mm.
how people work, we could connect with them and we could also learn. That's the surest path to like real wisdom, seeing
Mm-hmm.
the master at work or
Mm-hmm.
explain it. So that's our
Yeah,
philosophy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. So I'm just going to take you way back. I
Yeah.
remember growing up as a kid. I was really chatty. I'm sure my
Uh-huh.
dad thought I was going to end up being a lawyer. So I was
Oh.
quite chatty as a kid.
Uh-huh.
I was always interested in TV. At the time, I remember Franco Lise was always on news. I'm trying to remember what it was called then. It was on channel 10, what we used to call Channel 10. We had Franco Lise, we had Ruth Benemise Opia, a number of newscasters that were, doing amazing work at the time.
Yeah.
And I used to get so fascinated by just listening, to the news, which came at, strategic times, 4, 10, 9, it was 9 at the time. Then
Yeah.
Franco Lise was Newsline. So I used to be so interested, as in like, so people who knew me because I was really chatty
Yeah.
thought, I should end up being a newscaster
I
and every
see.
other thing like that. And slowly in Nigeria we have something called the primary school. When you're done with primary school, you
Yeah.
go into the junior secondary school and
Yeah.
then into the senior secondary school. So usually by the time you're in GSS 3, you make the choice of like a like a half choice really of what you want to become.
Yeah.
Are you going to go into the sciences, or you will be in the arts,
Cameroon
or
is
you'll be
like
in the
that.
commercial?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
or you'll be in the commercial class, which basically says, oh, commercial, you probably want to end up being an accountant, banker. If you're going to the art class, you want to be a lawyer or a poet or something like that.
Yeah. Actually.
So usually at the time way back, what it was like then was, if you're brilliant, it was almost automatic that once you have some kind of grade, some kind of score, you go, straight to science class. So,
Yeah.
so that part was, just generally, created for me. So I got to GSS 3. Everybody was like science class, science class. So I ended up in science class. Finished SS 3. At the time, I thought I was going to be what I wanted to be at first was a petrochemical engineer,
Mashallah.
because
Me too. Once.
yes, yeah, it sounded like a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
way back. As in, so I was like, whoa, oil company money,
Yeah.
and that was all I and that was all I was seeing.
Yeah.
So I entered into the university. My choice course was chemical engineering, which was close to the
Yeah.
oil company and every other thing like that. I ended up studying chemistry,
Oh wow.
and yeah. So part one, I was trying to figure out if I was going to end up in this business of what's it called now? Being a chemist, making drugs, or working in the paint
Pharmacy.
industry.
Pharmacy.
Oh
Pharmacy.
yeah, or working somewhere in the pharmaceutical industry,
Yeah.
or just basically trying to like find my feet.
Yeah.
So part one came, I finished part one. By part two, you know, it slowly began to dawn on me that, this wasn't particularly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I had a choice of, swapping courses, moving to the arts, which would have cost me like a year, but at the time I was like, you know what, let me just finish school
Yeah.
and then figure out, where I'll be going from
That's
there.
right.
So that I finished university, went out to NYSC, that's the youth service corps in Nigeria. When I was done, I came back home and was job hunting. So at the time I got like a placement, was doing something part-time with I think it was an insurance company at the time.
Yeah.
And, I was going every day in, day out, and I just couldn't seem to find, what I was looking for. So that continued for months after my youth service. And then I was like, okay, you know what, maybe I should try, do something really chemical this time, since that's what I studied.
Yeah.
And then I tried the paint industry. I
Paint.
was
Paint.
paint industry, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So basically mixing colors,
Yeah. Oh
with color
wow.
coding.
Mashallah.
You understand?
Like makeup artist.
Sounds interesting, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Even how
but
about beer too? Liquor. That's chemical engineering.
that's stuff like you can do with
Yeah.
chemistry. Yeah.
Right.
But somewhere, on that journey, I got really like bored. I was like, no, I really can't be doing this day in, day out. It was becoming like routine for me, and I didn't feel like, it was stuff that I wanted to do with my entire life.
Wow.
It didn't feel like purpose. It didn't feel like a vision to me at the time. So I just thought, okay, you know what is it? As in, and I remember it was my husband. We were still dating at the time, who asked me, because I kept complaining on a daily basis, like, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. This is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And one day, I remember, he just asked me, what exactly do you want to do? As in, and it was like a wake up call, like, what do you want to do? And I practically just took it in, and I felt it was a question I had to answer, to myself first,
Yeah.
as in, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I decided, okay, you know what I have a passion for, that I always known that I had a passion for, was media.
Yeah.
But then here I am with no media certificates, no degree in mass communication. I didn't even study English.
Yeah.
I didn't even do literature. I didn't do anything that is art oriented. So, how do I find my feet from here? Like, so then, he said something. It was like, if this is what you want to do, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. So I was like, just do it. Sounds easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just do it.
Nike.
How do I just do it? With a chemistry certificate. So, basically that was my, my lead into that journey that has brought me here. Totally, because, I decided to just do it. One day I was at work and I decided, okay, you know what? No, there's no way I'm going to continue doing this. Like, I had enough, and I was like, no, I'm not keeping up with this. I'm just going to do what I love doing, as what I think, because at the time I'd never done it, so I didn't know whether I was going to get stuck in between, or maybe I would start it and find out it's also a routine like every other thing I'd done at that point. But I just thought, okay, you know what? It was what a try to just do what I thought I loved doing. And so, yeah, that started the journey. So I remember very well, at the time, we didn't have data on phones.
Yeah.
So I was at work, and when he said, just do it, I was like, so how do I make this first step of just doing it? So I said I was going on a lunch break, and I went to a cyber cafe not too far from my workplace that was in Ikeja at the time. So I, sat down in front of the computer, and I was basically asking Google as a list of TV stations in Nigeria, so brought out the list. At the time, it was quite a short list. Where there was AIT existed at the time. There was NTA, There was at the time TVC was I think I can't remember what it was called now. I think G65 or something. Yeah, I think it was G65. It was called G65 at the time.
Yeah.
And then there was Galaxy Television. There was
That's
Galaxy Television. So now, of all those TV stations, only one of them had a number. Only one of them had a number, a phone number attached,
That's a
and
lot.
that was Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Galaxy Television.
Of Galaxy,
Isaac,
of Augusti Bojo.
Isaac knows the story. Isaac
Of
knows the
Augusti
story.
Bojo.
At least, yeah, exactly. So yeah. So I picked up the number and went back to work and I called.
Yeah.
I remember precisely this story because it's one that has stayed with me over the years. His name is Mr. Dotun Shashei. Mr. Dotun Isaac. You remember Mr.
Yeah,
Dotun?
HOD.
Mr. Dotun picked. Yeah, he picked the call at the time, and once he picked the call, I didn't even know who he was. I just introduced myself. My name is Joke. I was Joke Lijadu at the time. My name is Ajoke Lijadu. I'm a graduate of chemistry, but you know what? I just love doing media. As in, I have a passion for the media. That's all I've got. No certificate, nothing.
That's a
But
lot.
that's all. That's all. As in, I just have a passion. That's if passion is something you can use. I have that. So I said that. He listened to me patiently, and then well, it's good to hear, but I don't work for Galaxy Television anymore. That I used to work
Yeah.
for Galaxy, but I'm no
Yeah.
longer with Galaxy.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed. I was like,
And your
after
number
I
is
just
still
filled
there.
out on my CV.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
As in, so basically, but he said something that that really made me really happy. He said, but I could give you the number of the owner of Galaxy TV.
That's a
You
lot.
can call him and pitch yourself
Yeah.
just as you've done right now. Like, so I was like, I'll be so happy to have that. So he dictated the number right there. I wrote it down and I ended the conversation. So I picked up my phone again and then I called Chief Steve Ojo, who is, the owner of Galaxy TV. And just in the same way I'd spoken to Mr. Dutton, I went on and on, oh, this, that. I've got only my passion going for me, no certificate, nothing. But I know that, I would be an addition, a valued addition to your company, blah, 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 story, story,
Yeah.
story. And and then he was like, well, where are you right now? I said I was in Ikeja. I was like, how about you stop by at my office?
Dun dun dun.
And
That's
I was
Augusti
like,
Bojo.
Dun dun dun.
yeah.
This is the part in the movie where the
I was
sound
like,
changes.
what? What did he say?
I said this is that part in the movie where the sound changes, like dun dun dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
So I was like, so I went back, from the cyber cafe because I was still there when I was making those calls. Went back to the office, picked up my bag, and told my boss in the office that I just had to quickly step out, and then I left. I went to Allen Avenue, which was where, which is where Galaxy TV still is, till date.
Yeah.
And Chief Ojo wasn't around at the time, so I had to wait. I waited. When he came, told me to come upstairs to his office, and then he gave me a newspaper. So I read the newspaper in like the crudest way I could, because I had no training, nothing whatsoever. And then he called Nicholas Anukanti. I remember him very well. Now he's late now. Nicholas.
So rest in peace.
So he called Nicholas, yeah, and asked Nicholas, Nicholas, this lady here is interested in being a journalist.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about her? So Nicholas says, oh, why don't you just read that newspaper to me again? And then I did.
Wow.
And then he goes, well, I think she's trainable.
That's a lot.
And, those words actually, sealed my journey, because once he said that, it meant that there was opportunity for me in the industry. And so that was just the start of it. Yeah. So right there and then, Steve Ojo tells me, oh, well, at the moment, we are not particularly recruiting, but I'm sending, a group of young people for training for a month.
Yeah.
You could join them
Yeah.
If you do so well, if you do really well, then I could think about offering you a job. So
Mashallah.
I was torn because I was in between. Oh, now I had a job, that gave me some form of security. Am I going to quit it for something that wasn't sure? Because what it meant was if I had gone for that training and I end up doing badly, I won't have a job to come back to.
Yeah.
And I had not spent up to a year in the place where I was working, so I wasn't entitled to any form of leave, or so I couldn't basically say that I was going on leave, so and then go and take the training and see if it works out. I couldn't, play that in that way. So it was one of two things. I had to quit one to get on
Hmm.
one. So basically, the choice of quitting a certainty for an uncertainty lied with me.
Wow.
But because I thought to myself, would I continue doing something that I won't be happy with? How long am I going to do this for? It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
I just said, well, I'll be back on Monday to get on the training. So I gave him my
Mashallah.
word. I went back to my place of work, and I just quit.
Hmm.
I just quit.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, quitting was for me, getting home,
Yeah.
tell my mom, well, I don't have a job anymore, but I have a hope, some form of hope,
Yeah.
you know, of
Wow.
a
That's
job,
some big
that could
risk.
happen.
Man.
Yeah, as in, yeah, that it could happen. It could be. It's possible it doesn't happen, but this is all I have right now. So I went home. You know, got so good. My mom was really supportive. She didn't have any qualms with it. So basically that's what happened. I went for the training, and I did really well. We were, I think, about 10 of us who went for that training. I remember very
Mashallah.
well. We're about 10 of us, yeah.
Yeah.
About 10 of us who went for that training. But I did so well, as in
Hmm.
that, he employed not all of us, I think about 3 or 4 of us at the time. I remember Tolu, I remember Uju, I know
Uju.
there was Priska. Yeah, Uju was part of that
Where
that
is Uju
that
now?
that
Well,
mix.
let's.
I think Uju's in the US.
Oh,
Uju's in the
Okay.
mashallah.
US or the
Yeah.
UK somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll track him down.
So just that group, and he picked about 3 or 4 of us. I was elated, as in I was so happy. Just at the thought of having some form of job, again.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was it. That's how it started, and it was quite disappointing, of course, to hear that I was not going to be earning, I think, about 35,000 naira at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was about 35K or less than that at the time, and I was living a job that was giving me about 80.
Ah,
So
God has
so I
a
was
way of
like,
doing things.
okay, well, maybe I didn't think this well, but of course there was no going back, because
At that moment,
I
yeah.
didn't have a job I was going back to. Yeah, as it. So I just had to stick with it,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, basically that's how the journey started for me. So yeah.
Mashallah. Wow,
Hmm.
Isaac, you know,
Hmm.
uh, for some weird reason, I think in pictures mostly. As she was talking, I saw this person that had to pick between roads, always at a fork or like a junction. You have to choose this or that. And then when you choose
Mm-hmm.
it, the road is also kind of twisted, and then you have another bending corner somewhere.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I see all these choices. Were you in this journey? Did you consciously make those choices, or when you look back at it, like they say, you can always connect the dots by looking back? That's when you see how everything came together. Do you think there was some other power that was like just leading you through those choices, or was it like a conscious thing out of practice?
Well, at the time, God was all I had to make
Okay.
those choices. As in, at the time, as in, it was impossible for me to say, oh, so should I do this or should I do that? You
Mm-hmm.
understand? As in, but I knew that there was just basically a power that was directing, because there was no way I knew that this was the end of the journey.
Yeah.
But I was conscious enough to know that there was someone who saw the end of of a thing before, even before it's beginning at all. So yeah, I was conscious enough to know that, even if I was making that choice at that time,
Yeah.
God had a direction mapped out for me. And looking back now, it could only have been God.
Mashallah.
Definitely with the support of people who have, I've worked with my
Yeah.
husband, people, my parents,
Yeah.
my sisters. But definitely there was God in all of my journey. There was obviously God in all of my journey. So
Mashallah.
basically, that's the way I see it, because it wasn't easy. I didn't know what was going to become of that journey.
Yeah.
I didn't know, as in. And
Mm.
I remember standing, on the podium in Muzon Center
Yeah.
when I won the Cadbury Prize for the best reporter of the year, the
Mashallah.
NMMA award. And that journey
Uh-huh.
flashed, right before me, because
Yeah.
it was something that I didn't see happening
When
even when I
when
started that
when
journey.
when did you win this award?
That was in 2017.
Mashallah.
2017.
It was in 2017. Yeah,
Yeah.
December 2017. And for me, it was that journey. I recalled the journey all over again, because I
Yeah.
just thought, if I was still working
Yeah.
in my chemistry, with my chemistry degree, I just began to imagine a lot of things, as I imagined my years at Galaxy TV. At the time, I was in TVC.
Yeah.
All that movement that I'd made, I obviously saw, a stronger hand, and it was obviously the hand of God in all of the things that I've done over the years.
Mashallah.
So basically, it's been from one opportunity to another, to another. When I left Galaxy in 2010, I left Galaxy because I was relocating with my husband to
To
Kaduna.
Kaduna.
I'm sure yeah, exactly.
To
As in,
Kaduna, and I will tell you about
yeah,
the
exactly.
bravery of Joke. Go ahead. we'll come to that.
You
Yeah, she
remember, as
sounds
in,
brave.
yeah,
I
as in,
remember.
She sounds very
as in,
brave,
I
and
man.
remember.
Mashallah.
and
Yeah, let me
so
fill
I'd,
in.
I'd had
Let me
about
let me let, let me fill in the gap for you there. Just
yeah.
to say that, Joke did something that was almost unbelievable. I'm not sure if you
I'll
were
tell
so
you one.
familiar with northern Nigeria at that time when you came.
No, I wasn't.
So
I'd
Joke
served
came.
in Casina though.
So
So,
so
but that
Joke
1 year
came to
is
Kaduna.
things.
Joke came to Kaduna, and after a while, she said she wanted to work in Kaduna. And this is somebody that does not speak Hausa, and one of the main one of what every employer then looks for is somebody that can speak both English and Hausa, because these are
And
Hausa dominated.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joke came and said, Isaac, I said, okay, you think you can? He said, yes. And the energy to which she wanted to do the job, and you even offered to even do it for free, right?
For free, yes,
Mashallah.
I remember.
Yes,
I worked at NTA Kaduna for free.
for
You
free.
I
see,
remember
oh,
very well.
mashallah.
Yeah,
you
as
know
a
Yeah.
so that tells you, I mean, her passion for the job,
Yeah.
her commitment, and her love for the job. And this brings me to say that all through that Joke has been talking, Brian, I talking about spirituality now.
Yeah.
It means that if every human being, or if people are sincere, God will lead you.
Exactly.
Because it seems that Joke, I mean, she had no training in mass communication or journalism, you know, but because she was honest and sincere to herself,
Yeah.
you
She
know,
got trained.
voila, this is where she is today with BBC. She
Yeah.
won an award, Cadbury
Yeah.
Award,
Yeah.
in 2017.
Yeah.
So that keeps my thinking, like, morally, if it means does it mean that if we are all sincere to ourselves, you know, God will always find fulfillment, will always live our destinies.
Mashallah.
I think it's one of the things God has promised us. Certainly that, when He says that, the thoughts I have towards you are that of good and not of evil.
Mm.
To give you a future and an expected end. Obviously, any expected end with God can be bad. With God, you may find that the journey is rocky, and
Yeah.
believe me, I had moments where I felt, you know, did I make the right decisions all the time? Did why did I do this? Maybe you shouldn't have done it somehow in another way.
Yeah.
I had moments like that where when I doubted my expected end.
Yeah.
And even as I speak to you, I'm not at my expected end yet. But what I know
Yeah.
surely, is that my expected end is a good one because God has
Mashallah.
promised it.
Yeah.
So totally, totally, that's the way it is. As in for everyone who believes that promise.
Mashallah. Like Isaac,
Yeah.
when you were saying, I can't believe how like courageous she is. I was saying that I can tell you, and let me tell you,
Tell me.
like so. Remember this morning we are saying that if you look critically, things that happen to you will just solve your problems. You may have a problem, and the solution must come somewhere. That's what it means to be alive, is to experience those solutions. And when you come to life, you actually participate in experiencing those solutions. So for her, I realized that in a story when she made the first call. If you notice, she practiced to speak to the ray guy of Galaxy. She called the first person, and that wasn't the person that she practiced. And she told her she made the same call. So when I was looking at it, you see how God does his things. Like if you read stories in the Bible, those are some very things you see them in passing, but I feel like that's where God actually just does the thing. You see what I mean? Like imagine if she
Yeah.
had called the
The owner
person
first.
first. Like I think it would have been a different experience. But you see how
Yeah.
it went? Like those small things like that, they just
Yeah.
come there. It's just
Yeah.
like a punctuation.
Because
Totally,
because
totally.
It's just a
yeah,
punctuation in your
because
story.
I
It's
believe that I
punctuated
want
with
to
that
believe that
experience.
the
Yeah.
first call, the way you spoke to the first to Ogadotu,
Yeah.
I mean, would
Mm-hmm.
be much better the way you put yourself when speaking, because speaking with Ogadotu has
Mm-hmm.
given you
Yeah,
Has
exactly.
prepared you
and
exactly.
a
Yeah,
chance
give
to
me an insight
practice.
of what
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also his humility,
yeah,
right? We as
exactly.
human beings, we have this feedback system where somebody smiles. I guess that's why sometimes they say someone's smile could fix someone's day. And
Mm,
Isaac, when you mentioned this thing about being honest, sincere, that it take us far, it's something that I've been thinking about for so long that and most cultures reduce it to a few things. Like Christians will say that I think seven cardinal virtues: humility, discipline, all of those things. I forgot charity, those things. So sometimes I used to think that if you practice one, you gain the other. If you're humble, you'll be courageous. If you're courageous, you'll be patient, and things like that. So
mm,
now the Galaxy, the first person she called for Galaxy, I guess him saying, "Okay, let me give you the number." That's some kind of validation. That's also like a smile that he has given to her, and that enforced her and encouraged her to like jump onto the next one.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
so it was
If
really
you had said
amazing.
if you had
Yeah.
said something to me like oh with a chemistry degree, I doubt that you'd be able to do much with that. I would have taken it in my stride and I would have believed him.
Yeah. True.
So what he said, was an affirmation of the fact that oh, I think this is something that you can do,
Yeah, mashallah.
and he obviously pushed me.
Yeah.
you know,
I have one
and
more
and and,
question.
and I think Ogadotu has that character in him of always encouraging people. He did that to me. He came back to Galaxy again. Remember, Joker? When we came,
Yes,
Ogadotu
he
came
did.
back.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
So
Yeah,
so some of my encounters with them when we
he returned
started,
to
I will write stories, and my script would not be so
I think
fine.
it was the year after I came in or something. Yeah, he was back because I
Mashallah.
joined
So
Galaxy too.
Maybe he came for you. So you came 1 year, you did your magic. I was like, whoa. Because some
yeah,
people, especially those that are veterans, because you mentioned that at that time, most stations didn't even have a number. So those that are there were like pioneers. So most pioneers are always very passionate and they're dreamers. You see, but when they jump on and they don't find the dream team, they can easily just relax. And then when
yeah.
they just retire, and then later they see
In
that
fact,
thing that they thought, yeah.
what you just said is very typical of Galaxy TV,
Uh-huh.
especially Oga Steve Ojo.
Yeah.
But Joke, we've just spent an hour. I see it's some minutes past 6. So
Mm-hmm.
you can let us know if you have
Mm-hmm.
to take your break now, or if you have to leave now. It's
All
okay.
right. Yes, if you just give me about 10 minutes, Yeah,
Good.
I'll be right back into this
All
conversation.
right.
Yeah.
We'll be here, right, Brian?
Yes, yes, we'll be here. We can keep discussing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, she can drop off.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can drop off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mashallah. I mean, Isaac. Just listening to that story, I got so many. You know, man, as life. Me, I'm someone that I try to understand what life is, right? Like because I want to see things in a way that I want to understand things the way I understand my name. By understanding, I mean that when I call my name, there's I don't think. You see what I mean? And when I write it, I don't think because I've practiced it. I've done all of those. So I love when things are like that to me. That's simple and fluid and natural. You see, so it's made it. I've been thinking that man, like there's just so if you look at a human as a computer that receives data, just like keyboard, mouse, and we as humans were receiving it from all angles. The wind is there, temperature, people talk to us, watch movies. Like we're constantly absorbing information. So I began to think that man to figure out like this life so that it can be easy for me as I write my name. What are the things that are missing? What are the things I need to do extra? You see, so when I start thinking of those, I feel like we have to sculpt it ourselves. You see, like
Mm.
it's like you have this picture of his. Let's say you have to sculpt your grandfather. You're a perfect sculptor. You're an expert.
Mm.
You want to sculpt your grandfather. It's a whole process, like thinking all the details that go into it, and then the actual ritual of
Mm.
erecting, realizing that. You see,
Mm.
so in looking at it that way, I start seeing like there's a whole craft about choice. You have to choose this. Like if you have to make the
Mm.
leg this big, it's a choice. You see what I mean? So when she's telling me her story, I only see choices. I only see choices the choices that she was making. She was
Yeah.
choosing and continuing like choosing roads. And the question I was gonna ask her, and because if you look at society, all of these things about life now, we have to is it cohabitate, like live with others. So now with this gender violence issue, I'm beginning to wonder why thinking about this life, what is it that causes these issues that we have, like gender violence issues? So she mentioned the case where the husband told her, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" So when I played it in my
Mm.
head in the various variations that that conversation could go,
Mm.
one she could feel challenged and then just say, "Oh, what do you think?" Because sometimes I think we're talking about this one day where the way you talk, ask yourself questions, we would probably do the same to others, but that may offend them because it's too sincere. You see what I
Mm.
mean? So I was wondering how she felt when the husband asked her, "Is this what you really want?" Because most people, in my experience, in another thought thread, another reality is that that question causes issues. So I don't know if you see what I mean. So I saw like a
Yeah.
kind of choice in like to like understand that without feeling challenged or feeling like someone is saying you don't know what you're doing.
Mm.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah. Of course, it makes sense, Brian. I mean, I wonder. Today is just full of spirituality and philosophy on Topo spaces, and I'm
Ah.
just being attracted to it like magnet. Um, Back to her story, right, and what you're saying. It strikes me that it also confirming what you're saying
Yeah.
that choices, when you make the right choices, life is about choices, right? And if you make the right choices, if you are sincere to yourself and make those choices, those self-conscious choices for yourself,
Yeah.
you will never lose.
Mashallah.
You will never lose in the fact that you're going to identify yourself. You will
Mashallah.
come to
Yeah.
a self of self-actualization,
Mashallah.
right?
Yeah.
Because for her now, she's self-actualizing herself.
Yeah.
She had to leave a job of 80,000 naira
For hope.
and take a job of 35,000 naira, not
Not
50,000, not even
directly. Not
40.
directly. She first of all took it for a chance to get that job. So she exchanged it
Yes,
just for hope.
exactly.
Not even the money yet.
Not
Like
even the money
yeah, they
yet.
promised to train her
Yeah.
that they will select one person,
Yeah.
and they'll select the best. So, but
Yeah.
so when they selected three or four, I was gonna laugh. I was saying like, you know how some people say like life is a tale told by a clown, or like some joker
Yeah.
that some if it say that, it'll probably mean like God is a clown, and like God likes to joke and put in humor in places. Like she struggled to be the best, but they added three more people. You see, I was like,
Mm.
man, she could
Yeah.
just struggle to be number four. But in that case, they would have taken one person. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, sorry, continue. Yeah,
Yes. So I mean, I don't want to sound preaching now,
sound
but
anyhow,
I
man.
want
We're
to say
chatting.
here,
How can
Brian.
you be supporting a space where people come and think, empty their heads, and then you want to not sound preachy? Preach to me, please. Let me be wise.
So it makes me to say that, I mean, in all the confusion that we find ourselves in humanities,
Yeah,
in our human existence,
yeah,
you know, it's poor choices, Brian.
yeah. I think so
It's
too.
poor
Now that you put
choices.
it like that, yeah,
Is insincere choices,
yeah,
right? When you are not sincere with yourself, when you want to make a front, or like Frank Murphy,
yeah, yeah.
said
Frank
in
the
his
Murphy, yeah, yeah, right,
yeah, Frank Murphy
yeah.
said in his in his philosophy that sometimes you need to put down your fake identity. You need to put on, you need to pick up your original identity. Your original identity is what brings those natural choices. I call them natural
Exactly. That's why I
choices.
asked her if, and that's why I asked her if she was conscious of those or if there was some force. You see
Hmm.
what I mean? That was why I asked her, because I could see and feel that in like her story. You see, so that's why the question actually suggested itself based on what she said. Because yeah, and that's something that I face, and I'll give you an example, right? Uh, Growing up, to me, one of them is adjusting to things I can't get away with, in the sense that I make a choice. As you're younger, you make a choice, but you get away with something. You could miss an exam while you're a kid, and maybe you not have any repercussions. But if you go now, let's say you go to be a lawyer in Nigeria, and if you miss your final exam, you will not be a lawyer. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? You make that choice, however, for whatever reason. But perhaps as a kid, when you miss one exam as a little kid in nursery school, you don't really feel the effect. So I used to always feel like life is about adjusting, being able to cope with your choices, because if as you're growing up, those choices you make them and very
Yeah.
few effects, and
Yeah.
then as you're growing
Yeah.
older, those same things that
Yeah.
you do, you
Yeah.
start seeing the weight heavier. So yeah. So
Yeah.
now that you mentioned that, like I mean,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
and Brian, do you know that? Do you know another thing that you're just leading me into now? If you make those choices,
yeah,
yeah, those honest choices,
uh,
right? Coping with them, no matter how difficult it is, will not be such a big deal. I
yeah,
mean, it can deal you, it can give you the final blow, a blow that will take you down, more than how you've ever been taken down in your life.
yeah.
But you will cope
Mashallah. Exactly,
because it is an instance, it is a natural choice that you made.
exactly, yeah. And
You know,
actually, Isaac, you remember, like I like how you always put, like, I may have a thought, you put it in another way that expands how I think about it. And remember
mm,
when like I was saying that the grand ancestors. 1 minute. Shout out to Michael Agbo. Hi, Michael. Thanks for joining. We're just having a conversation. We're chatting with Ajoke Joke, but she stepped out for a little, so she'll be here shortly. Now we're just running them out. So thanks. He says first, I followed you for the first time yesterday. Mashallah. Thank you, Michael Agbo. Where
oh
you?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Michael Agbo, thank you, correct guy.
Thank you. Yeah.
Dan Onje mentioned you yesterday as being one of, you remember him, Brian?
Oh yeah,
He
there
was
is.
one
Oh wow, mashallah. Yeah. Okay. I mean,
that
feel
that
free to
Dan
reach
Dan
out.
Onje,
Yeah, feel
yeah,
free to
that he
reach
was
out
one
so we
that
could host you.
inspired, gave him
Yeah.
encouraged him,
Yeah.
to go into that and shoot that video for that song, for that I Can Breathe. You
Mashallah.
remember?
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Mashallah.
So Michael Mungode, so say we thank you very much. I saw you today that when you followed us, thank you so very much. And also, just so you know, that if you have anything that you want to say, that you want to share, please
Yeah,
feel free to approach us, and we'll bring you here to Topo Spaces, and
yeah.
you come in,
We would host it.
to share your experiences,
Yeah,
just like the way Joke is sharing hers for the
mashallah.
benefit of humanity.
Yeah, mashallah. And yeah, so
Yeah.
Isaac, like, so about the note that those choices, as we make the choices with all sincerity, we'll be able to cope with the repercussions and be at peace. You see that was the feeling I had too when I was chatting with the jockey, and we are saying that our ancestors look like they were at peace, and that's because they had a framework to understand reality, and that's where things like faith come in, because that faith, look at what she said too, the choices that she made, she knows that there's a promise that was given to her by the big I, or the biggest I. So that promise cannot be wrong. That's a fuel, eternal, a perpetual espresso that continuously and continually inspires her to like make those choices. And now I'm saying this because, and what you've said, man, it touches so many angles and issues that we're having today. One is like faith versus like science. That I was asking for the Bazi the other day too. Uh, some people think they're different. Like if you're a scientist, you cannot be a Christian or something. You see what I mean? So now, so now, but if you look at it critically, you see that the scientists can learn about faith from, and sorry, the Christian or the religious person can learn about faith from the scientists. So what do I
Explain to
mean by
me.
that? I'll use your same words when you said that when you use this, make these choices and accept the consequences with all sincerity, you see that things will always be fine, right? So have you ever seen a scientist, the real sense of the word, who conduct an experiment, and the experiment says that the like let's say litmus paper test, what it does to turn purple or what, and it turns green. Do you see the scientist?
Now I understand all that you have been telling me about mathematics.
Exactly. So you see now that that scientist trusts in that method. So
Yes.
if the controls that you've set up and everything that you've set up using other meta scientific methods tell you that the solution, the result will be like this, like this, like this. If you do your test and it comes on wrong, the people don't destroy everything. They try again, maybe by checking the environments. Like if I was testing protein, did I mistakenly put some enzyme there that destroys something, and then they redo it. So you see that that's faith, and it shows. If you look at inventors, you have someone like Edison in America. They said he failed 10,000 times before he made the light bulb. So if you didn't have faith in that whole invention and science, in that way, you see that he will not try again the next time. So now you see that there's faith in science. So now Christians or those that are religious, if they can differentiate between belief and faith, then you, because belief is like you have carved this one thing. If you believe that the Nigerian team is gonna win a game,
Mm-hmm.
and then they lose, you get pissed, you get disappointed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that there's that
Mm-hmm.
imbalance. But when you have faith in the team, even when they
Mm-hmm.
lose, right, you
Yeah.
accept it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like what you said just made me think about it in that
Yes.
way. Like
Yes.
those choices.
Brian, what makes people, skeptical about, scientists,
Yeah,
and religiosity, is that
yeah,
a lot of scientists have come out clearly to say there is no God,
yes,
right?
yes.
And because of the theory of evolution,
That's one. Yeah,
that's one. Okay, I think that is the most easiest one that everybody knows, most
yeah,
popular one,
yeah,
right? We just evolved. We'll
yeah,
continue to evolve and continue to evolve. Man was not created by anything.
yeah.
It's just some form of something evolving and all of
Yeah,
that.
right, exactly.
So
Some say we came from
that is it. So
bacteria,
and now how
from
can you
bacterium
how
even.
can you because faith now is
Yeah,
the total belief in the supreme in a supreme being, in the existence of God,
yeah.
even though you can't prove it. I mean, scientifically, you know that there is God spiritually. Is proven
Exactly, exactly.
spiritually. You feel him,
Yeah,
right? But the scientists, most of the scientists, or I would say, don't believe that there is this God. So how can you reconcile that? How can you now say it's faith? Theirs is maybe they are more driven by ambition. I have the
Yeah.
ambition to produce
So
this cup,
yes,
not
exactly.
faith, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
have the
that's why I
ambition to
said faith
produce this
in
cup.
the method. That's why I said faith in the method. In the same way that you have faith in the Nigerian team, that
All right.
whenever
All
the
right.
team goes, right, and you see now that you don't decide for the team, you accept things that come, and it's almost like surrender. And you now see that even see like Islam for example is Islam means to surrender. You see, like you surrender yourself to the big I. So that faith and then, but the thing is, those religions give you a manual for you to navigate the spiritual warfares that you'll be facing as you move on. In the same way that these scientists get the manual for science,
Yes.
like
Yes. They have.
yes, they get the
They have
manual for science.
manuals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
yeah.
mean, like I'm sure right now they are developing manuals to get vaccines for COVID-19. That's the
Yeah,
manual they'll be using.
and I mean, at the most abstract level, there's actually a manual for the scientific method where you start with a question, right? And you use it in journalism, but it's just that you have to really read in between the lines to track it. Hi, Constance. Shout out to you, go back, Constance. Yeah, it's great we're discussing about this. Thanks for joining. Please feel free to participate. Yeah, we'll see your comments and we'll react. In time,
Yeah. So you were.
immediately. Yeah, I was saying the faith in the method, right? So now at the most abstract level, the scientific method, you start, it's simple, right? You start with an educated guess, right? You guess something and then you have an experiment to be able to test, because it's about examining things. It's about saying that and you can use science everywhere. I'll give you a simple example. There was this scientist called Richard Feynman. He worked in the development of the atomic bomb. A wonderful guy, but I don't want to get into the ethics of that part. So someone was asked, told him, like how you can say in the cathedral, guys who grow up with their mother, maybe be they will treat women better, something like that. And he understood it as okay, which means someone that doesn't, it goes two ways. The negation of it, like those that grow up with their mothers, they may know how to treat women better. Those that grow up being close to their fathers, they may not know. That's probably what that statement is saying. So he, as a scientist, he happened to have grown up with being close to his father, so he decided to try it. Like you meet women, ask them out, date them, go whatever you do, and that's why he was jumping from one woman to another. But if someone looked at it in the sense like playboy thing, that's one thing that playboys do that, but he did that as science because that was his experiment. So he will be
All right.
gathering data. You see what I mean? So at the end of the day, when he was done with his set of things that subjects, just like you do it in the lab with the test subjects and the rest, when he was done, he did his conclusion. And he concluded. So that's science. That's the framework of science. You have an educated guess, then you have some experiment that you have conducted to be able to sift or to conclude based on things, and then you draw your conclusion. So those three things, right? So now that manual now is about observing what is there, being able to make those hypotheses, and being able to follow through to transmit the hypothesis to equivalent conclusions or appropriate conclusions. You see, so now as I think spiritually too, uh, the manuals are there. The prophets are spiritual geniuses. These are people that could connect with God and understand methods the same way that someone like Einstein or Isaac Newton could connect again with God a bit from the point of view of physics and understand laws of gravity, laws of whatever the laws that govern electrodynamics, quantum mechanics. Those things God reveals to them in the same way that the person that prays and is prayerful, God also reveals certain things. You see, so those things they and sorry, there's also one thing. I feel like if someone really understands science, right, you wouldn't really discredit God or say like there's no
All
God
right.
because you
That was
can't
the
prove
question
it.
I was about to ask.
Yeah.
At what point of divergence do the scientists that you are a scientist, you believe in God, you're
Mm,
an ardent Muslim,
yeah.
you know, at what point of divergence did the scientists that believe that there is God and the scientists that believe that there is no God. What is their point of divergence?
Well, I think that that could be like the most evident one where they diverge is in reality, right? Like epistemology, that's knowledge. Like because epistemology answers what is true, and what is true most times is what we want to see. And for some cultures, epistemology is married to ethics. So because it's in doing acting the right way that you get to know truth. So now I think scientists and Christians diverge at epistemological levels because, for example, someone will say God said, and then the scientists will say there's no evidence. Because if you said that they broke the Red Sea or they stood on a mountain, the scientist knows that he has many toolboxes to investigate that. He's an investigator, a detective, remember. So you want to go to that mountain and see it in the same way that you can say that Isaac Newton's home where he was born is still there. I forgot it was somewhere in the UK. It's still there. The school he went to, probably the desks, all of those are still there. So they can go back and talk about it and write about it. So if somebody says that God said this, and the scientists will be like, where? You see, if they cannot trace it back, then they can't. So that's where the divergence starts. So now there are many ways to reconcile that, and then that's where this main fight, I think, not really fight, but this main thing, difference between realism and idealism, because then the reality is that you want to know God, right? That's one reality actually. And then the ideals now of God, like most wise, supreme being, all of those things. So which means there are many ways that you can look at it. God can be right in your eyes and you don't even see it. And then you could ask yourself questions like, can you see what the dog sees? The dog probably sees it infrared, or the cat sees in another way. So if you cannot see how a cat can see, then why do you expect to be able to see everything, and then even God? So those are the questions that me, when I ask myself, I start like saying those things don't really concern me. You see, because yeah, like I can't see what a rat sees. So from that alone, it means that if perhaps God is at a wavelength that I can't see. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So anyway, I just want to throw some light like on
yeah,
that
yeah.
divergence. Yeah.
I understand you. I understand you, Brian. But again, I mean, humanity has done a lot of researches on its environment,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you want to know how a rat probably sees now, maybe I'm sure scientists would have registered the behaviors and all of that of rats,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I- right?
Yeah.
And I think the question is,
That's why I said probably a dog will see infrared, or the wavelengths that we use are different. You see, so what they'll probably see or how they see, and think of it this way too. What they say is, how do we see? If you look at it in terms of physics, you say that what you see is the color that is reflected. So if
Brian, let me ask you,
yeah,
what makes you to say, what came to your head that you just said maybe a dog sees in red, it
because
sees in infrared?
for many reasons, I think I heard it around, and then one other thing like uh, geometry. Let me just back it up a little. Like if one of the fundamental laws of geometry is that for a given point, an an infinite number of lines can pass through it. So if I put a point on a piece of paper, so now you see the importance of math. Many lines can pass through it. But when we're in school, they teach us these basics so we can understand the method and we apply it to other things. So why geometry will say a point, it could be that in life it's a point that I'm trying to make right now. Like a point like a dog seen in infrared, or a dog seen. Assume that a dog seen is a point. It means an infinite number of lines, which means the dog can see in an infinite number of ways. So I can assume, as a scientist, scientists always assume, and mathematicians, right, assume a spherical cow. That was a joke that we used to hear, that mathematicians are always assume that x equals this.
Yeah, you know why I asked you this question?
No.
Most of the things that people say,
Yeah.
they just don't come from anywhere.
Yes. Oh,
It's
yeah.
it
Yeah.
it is
True.
it is it you know is the fascination and the functionality of your brain.
Yeah.
Because I have not seen anything, but I know what the infrared used to do then. Hey, Joker is back.
Hi, Joker. We're just going on a tangent and just
Hi,
discussing.
Joker.
She's connecting.
I'm so sorry. I had to just.
No
I thought
worries.
small work and it's time bound. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
No, it's okay now. It's
No
okay.
worries.
It's a fireside chat.
Yeah, we're just chatting.
We've
And you
just been
said,
talking spirituality. I don't know how very strong you are in the Christian faith or what you do, but you have not brought a lot of spirituality into this house today. We've just been talking
yeah,
spirituality.
very
You know,
reflective.
yeah. So Brian, you know what I was trying to say. Why I asked you back that question was that we know what the infrared does, right? The infrared is like that's that was the technology we started using even before Bluetooth.
Yeah, to
Bluetooth,
transfer.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you know that the dogs they say they even see spiritually,
yeah,
right? They say that if a winch comes to your house,
yeah. They can
dogs
sense
bark.
it.
I don't know whether if you guys have heard about that.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I've heard even other
Yeah.
animals, and again, it comes down to like energy, right?
Yeah.
Because this wavelengths are, it's about frequency. Since everything is shaking, like if you start boiling water, the molecules between them. Since we're dealing with the chemist, the molecules between them have
Yes,
this
yes, the
relationship that they're
chemist, yes.
just sitting down.
But give me 1 minute. I
Yeah.
have to go and on gen, off
Okay.
NEPA. Let me go and put on generator.
All right, I'll be discussing
You
with
guys
Joker
roll.
then.
I'm coming.
Yeah, so Joker, actually, we were chatting about we're just brainstorming. You came and stick with our minds, and we're talking about reality, and we spoke about spirituality, how like God was always guiding you, and that it pertains to what we're saying about our ancestors, that perhaps they were at peace because they had this framework that provided them with tools to understand their reality. You see, so and you have your hopes in that promise that is made to all God's children. So that's what kept you like flowing and going. And then we started chatting about science, why some people believe in religion or not. And I was making the point that I am a scientist, but I believe in God because they are at different points. Like mostly the divergence between scientists and religious people. If you have theists and atheists, I think it's epistemological in what you can see right now. Since the scientist wants to see certain
Exactly.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what we're discussing
It's more
about.
concerned.
Yeah.
And Christianity is built basically on faith.
Yes. But I was saying
You can't
that.
see it so much of anything,
Yeah, but I
but
had
then
the.
you have to believe that
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, very true. But I
You're
had
saying something,
the.
Brian, yeah.
Yes, I had the thing is that I had the I was hypothesizing that I think they are the same, and but it's how you look at it. Because in science you see real faith. The scientist that does an experiment, if the result is to be blue and you get red, the person knows that it failed. That's faith in that method. You see what I mean? As opposed to
Yeah.
belief where
Yeah. If you put it
belief,
that way, yeah.
yes. As opposed to belief where if I believe in you, that okay, I believe that you would say your next word that you say is okay, and then you say something else, the belief failed. So I may be disappointed. But if I have faith in you or you have faith in the Nigerian team, if they lose a game, you are not worried. That faith cements everything. Yeah. So we're talking, reaching all those angles, and then you see that the scientist has faith in the scientific method.
Yes.
I agree. As in, if you put it that way, it makes some sense. As in, you have enough faith to believe that if it fails, you know, it's because you believe in the system to
Exactly.
produce, yeah, a kind of result. Yeah, totally.
And faith is about submitting because you've submitted to the scientific method. If it's only belief, then there's room for disappointment. But if it's faith, it's one way. So you've submitted. So
Yeah,
anyway, that's what we're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the way. That's the way it is.
So Joker, you were taking us on your journey of faith because when you left, me and Brian were just
Yeah.
analyzing, and we felt that your journey is that of faith, right?
Yeah.
You had no you I mean you didn't even know whether you were going to get the job or not.
But you
and
traded
and
it.
and you and Brian says the most important thing was not even the fact that you gambled between 80,000 naira, you compromised 80,000 naira to 35,000 naira. That is not even the test for your passion for this job.
Yeah.
It's clear for everybody to understand now that even the journalists, for every successful journalist, I'll make that here, I'll use that opportunity to say that here. For every successful journalist, the money would not be your key,
Mashallah.
right?
Yeah.
Because she left an 80,000 naira job to a 35,000 naira job. And the killer is not even that. The killer here is the killer, what we used to measure, I mean, your commitment or your connection to your faith is that we weren't even sure
Yeah, it was a
that you
test.
were going to get that job after training.
Yeah, you
So
traded it
yeah,
for
totally.
hope.
Yesterday, I wasn't,
You
and I
see,
remember, those
so you had faith.
periods
Yeah,
how I
go
used
ahead.
to pray that, yeah, as in, because I remember, really praying at the time that
Yeah.
what would be really disappointing for me would be to lose on both ends,
Yeah.
because there was obviously nothing to go back to. So imagine that somehow didn't pan out right, and we had. I remember the trainer now. I think her name was Jennifer, because I remember, it was somewhere in Merrill that it was a diction school. It did
Diction.
phonetics. Do you remember? It did phonetics and things that I was just not used to, because I didn't have any kind of arts background.
Yeah.
You understand? As in, so it was totally like gambling. And at the time, I think you came, Isaac. I think it had become the fact that you would have to have a job. So every other person that I think were on that team already had the job. Most of the
Yes,
people.
we had the job. Yeah, we're already given the job. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before they did the training. You understand? As in, for me, it wasn't like that. Now, what I noticed was, for some of those people who even had the job, they were dropped
Mashallah.
because they didn't meet up.
Yeah.
You understand? As a, and probably to also create space for someone like me who joined the scene later.
Probably if I was there, they would have dropped me too, because I didn't do well in that manner. I didn't do. They said you are going to teach me phonetics. I said, me, I don't know. I can't speak phonetics.
So that was it. But all through that journey, what I have seen and what I've said at different places where I've had to speak about anything that had to do with my journey, is that I've consistently seen the hand of God in I can't, all of the things that I do, all of the things that I do.
Yeah.
So even when I'm having a moment of anger or something I feel like God isn't particularly doing, once I remind myself of His faithfulness, it's very easy for me to say, as in, the end of this thing has to be, just has to be good, because I know that He's been consistent in doing that. So for me, as in, it's no, I can't say that I have a perfect relationship with God.
Nobody
and I doubt
does.
that most people will be able to do that. Yeah, exactly. As in, but I have complete trust in what He's able to do. And
some people,
unlike me,
some people will tell you that, Joke, will stop calling God now. You are hardworking. Why will you be calling God when you are hardworking? If you are hardworking, you will deliver.
Well, it could work like that for some people, but that's not the way I've built myself. You understand? I believe that I function because God gives me the ability to function. And yes, I know that a lot of people will say that I'm hardworking, as in, I think that if you also believe in God, it's hard for you not to be hardworking, because God has His tenets.
Yeah.
He has he's shown us by example. You understand? As if someone worked for days creating all kind of stuff and only picked the last day to rest, it should tell you something.
Yeah. He rested at the end.
It should tell you that God is someone who takes His job seriously.
Mashallah.
He's someone that would not mess with His work. That's the only reason why I would say He rested on the seventh day.
Mashallah.
Imagine he was mass producing.
Honestly,
I'm just saying.
Brian, I mean, this is typical for people to know.
Man, Isaac, remember when we used to say that?
It's hard for you it's hard for you to say that you believe in God and you are lazy.
Yeah, it's hard.
He's not a lazy God, actually. He's not. Think about the mass of people on this earth that call on Him. If He has to answer to everybody, imagine the amount of work that goes into that.
Yeah, and I think God answers everybody. Sometimes I see
Do you understand?
suffering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so just fun. It's mind-boggling just thinking about the amount
yeah,
of work
Yeah, the
that will go into
responsibility,
answering everybody
that
in
tax.
the earth, as in on earth right now.
mashallah.
So you should know that, as in, if you believe in God, it's hard for you to be lazy, really, as in, it's hard. It's not you won't
Yeah,
be Christ-like if you do that.
mashallah. Yeah,
Hmm.
and Isaac, you see, remember when we're saying that like this, some people try to reduce that into a framework, like for Christians to the seven cardinal virtues, where you have like charity, uh, humility, all of those things, right? The if you have one, it translates to the others. Like someone that is courageous will be patient. Will be courageous enough to be patient. Someone that is patient will be humble enough to be courageous. So he's just seeing that all of those things are sewn together, and
Yeah,
yeah,
interconnected. Yeah.
exactly. And the spirituality talks about work in so many ways because look at the human body. Just going to the gym and exercising, you yeah, muscles start expanding, you start becoming muscular, and perhaps that's why people live for thousands of years back in those days because of their connection with God and the environment. And work is in those people used to be tall. Like in the Quran, they tell us all the details of how tall and big they were. Like, someone like Noah, they said they used to live for hundreds of years, thousands of years
Yeah.
even. So Noah preached for hundreds of years to his people, and then when he started building the boat, he said, "Oh, now you're a carpenter." You're really mad. But you see, he was hardworking. He built the boat himself, and it makes me feel like most of our careers are like altars. Like that's how I see it, where we offer sacrifices, and the sacrifices are jobs. Like you, Isaac, going in chasing the Boko Haram story, or Jockey trying to capture, paint the reality of some events that
Yeah,
is
exactly.
needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mashallah.
Yes.
And if you tend to think about how God picked his disciples, you would also see that, he is someone who doesn't joke joke in any way with hard work. If you think about how Jesus picked his disciples, he picked a fisherman, picked a teacher, as in he was very intentional about the people that he worked with.
Yeah.
He didn't say, "Oh, you lazy man, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You don't have, you know." The carpenter means something.
Hmm.
Mashallah.
Hmm.
He's an artist. He's a carpenter.
So he doesn't
That's
say,
interesting.
yeah,
That's inter-
there's
that's
he
interesting.
has a
Uh,
there's this lazy man who is drinking, as in I best come through him.
Mashallah. Mashallah.
So for me, I think that, as in, most of the people I've worked with would say that, as in, I don't play with work,
Mashallah.
and I'm totally committed to, like like to working. I've had moments, Isaac, you knew now, when I was in Kaduna, when I didn't have like a job, as in, I couldn't live with myself because it felt like some part of my body had just been amputated.
I'm
As
telling
in,
you,
so
those those
so
people, those
I just
some of the people that worked in that place, especially some of them who were conservative houses, they were amazed to see a woman just come like that. Boom, boom, boom. I want to work. I want to work. You don't know how to speak. They were like amazed. I see, where did this person come from? Where?
and what was a different society.
Yeah, yeah.
Just trying to fit in was a different society, and I had the most fun in Kaduna. Every time I tell my husband that's where I'm retiring to,
Oh wow.
You want to
because
retire and come back
Mashallah.
to Kaduna?
Kaduna now. You know how it.
That's so
Yeah,
Yeah,
many
Kaduna
people
is
you
fun.
are. Yeah.
yeah,
Mashallah.
Wow,
Uh,
that's good
yeah.
to hear. So the people of Kaduna
Yeah,
watching this show,
yeah.
you take the credit again. This is a Lagosian. I mean,
yeah,
somebody who's been in Lagos and visited Kaduna for a short time, and she enjoyed it. She's thinking about retiring and going back to Kaduna. Yeah.
Mashallah.
So you people in Kaduna, you better fix back your
yeah.
peace. So stop fighting. People love your state. People love Kaduna. So Joke, now, tell us how you were able to convert yourself from a chemist. I mean, please, the rough work is what we want to hear. You were able to convert yourself from a chemist to a journalist. There were challenges, there were hurdles in practical terms now.
Mm. So yeah, converting myself, I won't even call it converting because right now I don't even remember my days being a journalist. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not a journalist as in, and something you've been doing for more than 13 years this year,
Yeah.
precisely in September 2007 was when I started working at Galaxy TV. So yeah, and so it started from me reporting and what's it called now, entertainment at the time in Galaxy TV. I started out reporting entertainment. From time to time, I would do core news reporting. You understand? As in, so it went like that. I was doing that for I think about 3 years, from 2007 to 2010, when I had to relocate to Kaduna. But even at when I was in Kaduna, I just didn't see myself. I tried a lot of things. You know, I speak French, so I went to French school. I went back to French school when I got back to Kaduna. When I was in Lagos, I was learning German too, German language, Deutsch.
Mashallah.
So yeah, so I'm practically into some kind of languages like that. So I haven't done that, and this is another like testimony for me in my latter days in Kaduna, I was pregnant with my son at the time,
Mashallah.
and I was heavily pregnant. I remember very well, and I'd not applied for any job. I didn't apply for any job, and suddenly one day, I saw a text message on my phone saying I had an interview in Lagos, and I was like, in Lagos, I didn't apply for it. It felt like a scam. It felt like a scam because I was wondering I was for any job in Lagos because there was no way anybody who saw me at that time would would even recruit me for any job because I was heavily pregnant.
Yeah.
I was almost about to have a puppy baby, and I was like, I didn't apply for, and I remember vividly not applying for any job because there was no way I would have even applied for a job, knowing what was going on at the time, as in, and I couldn't obviously show up at an interview
Yeah.
for any reason with a bloated tummy and stuff. So I saw that I'd skilled. I think the text message I first got was that I'd passed the I'd been shortlisted. Yeah, that was the first text message.
Yeah.
I'd been shortlisted. I was like, been shortlisted for what? As in, it came across to me like a huge scam. I remember at the time the text message was the media house. You've been shortlisted for role of reporter and producer. I was like, no, I didn't apply for this. I remember going back home and I was telling my husband that, do you know somebody sent me a scam message today saying I was shortlisted for something like that. And my husband was trying to remember. It seems as if I applied for a job for you, just vaguely, because it must have happened months back.
Yeah.
I think there was a day, I saw a job and I applied for it. I was like, what? I'm pregnant. How am I supposed to show up like this? And as God would have it, I had my baby in November, and by first week of January, I got another text message saying that inviting me for an interview in Lagos. So my baby was barely like, I think a month old when I had to come down, fly to Lagos for the interview. And yes, I did the interview in January, a follow-up interview in I think April of March or something in between. And I kept worrying about my son that he was too little to leave him and every other thing like that. And then when it got to I think about June, July, I got a call that I'd gotten the job with TVC in Lagos. And obviously, the job I'd gone to Kaduna to do was the baby, and I had it in my hand right now at the time. So it felt perfect for me to come back to Lagos. As in, so that's how I came back to Lagos, and I started working with TVC. I started working with TVC as an entertainment producer and reporter. So I was doing core entertainment reporting. I had a show I was anchoring
Oh
on
wow.
town at the time, and that journey was a very exciting one. I was enjoying what I was doing because I'd been into entertainment even before I left Galaxy. So by then I was almost becoming a known face with entertainers in the entertainment industry. So that continued like that. But because I'm someone who is not always satisfied with the status quo, I started hunger for more. I felt like, hmm, ah, entertainment. I wanted to do more. I was thinking more in line with impactful journalism. Yes, it's very exciting to sit down with entertainers, talk. What plans do you guys have? But I felt like there were stories out there that needed to be told. People's struggle, human interest stories, changes that had to be made,
Yeah.
but people just need someone to draw their attention to these things. And so consciously, I started taking on extra work.
Yeah.
I was doing my entertainment bit. I was entertainment, and I was also anchoring. But by the side, I was putting in extra hours to do human angle stories.
Yeah.
And so it started from one doing a story. I started small, 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 till my work started getting some notice. So my bosses my work. They knew I was an entertainment reporter, and they couldn't seem to place it because they were like, you do so beautiful. You have your work is so well done. Have you ever done core reporting? I like, yeah, but maybe bits and pieces at some point. But I concentrated more on human angle stories, people that had struggles with their life, people that had struggles with flooding, flooding. I kept churning out stories like that.
Mm.
I remember precise, it was Felicia Inka's 70th or 80th. I think it was Felicia Inka's 80th birthday. Yes.
I think
Wow,
the
the network
internet.
is getting jealous.
Yeah.
Or is our village people again? Our
Mhm.
village people are chasing her. That's fascinating. Somebody to leave entertainment and want to go to the streets, to do human angle story.
Mashallah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I am. In the meantime, shout out to others that just joined. Bonanja, Lydia, thanks for joining. Please feel free to interact. And if you have any questions, we're chatting with Joke. She's a journalist with the BBC. So mostly what we try to do here is share stories, share information that could show us how things are done, like how people get to do the rough work and achieve their goals, so that we all can, I mean, it can inspire us, encourage us to progress, and also to create this knowledge base for future generations to listen to and contribute. And it's free
Yeah.
for anyone. Feel free to reach out if you have anything to say. Reach out to us. We'll organize an episode and we'll discuss. And I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot
I'm learning
just
a lot,
of
man. I'm
discussing.
becoming wiser,
Yeah,
honestly.
me too.
I'm
Me too.
becoming wiser by just, sitting down and listening to people, experiences, practical experiences. This is not in a book, but somebody tells you it's practical life, what happened, and you draw a leaf from there,
Yeah,
you know. And I also want to do a shout out to Modibo, Husseini
yeah.
Modibo.
Mm.
Modibo was here. Remember him, the Fulani man?
Yes, yes, I do. I remember.
Yeah. So Modibo,
Mm.
thank you, thank
Thanks,
you. You're
man.
welcome to the show, and
I remember.
you can always come back. Oh, you can always come back. You shared some very interesting perspective
Yes,
on
please.
Southern
Anytime.
Kaduna,
Anytime.
Fulani, and Natives crisis, and I think those things you said were very useful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very. And one thing I learned from here, like I love reading books, and you read books and learn things, but when you see someone tell you life, it's more real. You see,
Mm.
and some people think maybe like to appear on the podcast or our podcast, you have to really be like an expert or something. I mean, if you have anything to say, we all want to be heard, and
Yeah.
it's not something. It must not be seen like work, because Isaac, when I reach out to people to come, some say they're busy, but what I think is missing is that they don't see that this is like a break. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? They don't see that this is like coming, sitting here and discussing. It's a break
Yeah.
that you take
And
and
just
you
unwinding,
ginger yourself. Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm working and I'm on my break.
Yeah.
And I always just come here and just tap a lot of energies. It's like therapy
Yeah.
to me most
Yeah,
times.
just like myself, immediately after this show, I go
Yeah,
back to work again, you know.
yeah,
And just so we make it also very clear, you mustn't know how to speak American English or one
yeah.
kind standard
Even
English.
a
For here,
pigeon,
we
you
dey speak pidgin
unbroken.
English.
Even a pigeon,
For
you
here, we dey
unbroken.
speak pidgin English,
We'll
you
go
know.
langua.
Broken English, we dey
Yeah,
speak am.
yeah,
In fact, if you don't know how to even speak the broken English, you can speak, just tell us your local dialect, we'll get an interpreter.
yeah.
Somebody who is going to come. If you really have something to share, you speak and we interpret. This is Africa, man. We're just speaking English because that is the most general language. But any African language you want to say, come in and we'll talk. And you're going to be seeing very soon people who are going to come here and speak in Kanuri, speak in Hausa, speak in Baju, speak in French, and all will be interpreted, just for everybody's consumption. So
Yeah.
Topo Spaces is open for everyone. We are not doing interview, we're gisting.
Well, listen, sometimes, well, questions assist people discuss, like, extract,
Yeah.
a question sometimes is like a spanner, right, Isaac? And then the thing you want to understand is the screw. You have to use that spanner. So sometimes it may sound like an interview, but it's just a conversation. We're trying to, so one may use questions to extract information.
Yeah.
That,
Joker, you're welcome back.
welcome back, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. My battery was flat.
No,
My phone
no.
Oh,
battery was
sorry,
flat.
sorry.
I,
Sorry.
I
I
have a
wasn't
question for
conscious
her.
enough to charge.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a
it's okay.
question for
It
Joker.
happens. Yes. So
Yeah.
I remember you were talking about you left you didn't like the entertainment, what you were doing with the entertainers. You were losing,
Yeah, yeah.
and so
I
you
was feeling
wanted to
like it
do.
wasn't enough. Yeah, I wanted to do something more impactful, and so I started, making my way towards, core reporting,
Yeah.
which was, generally news reporting, human angle stories,
Yeah.
and I started by, taking on extra chores. At the time, it felt really inconvenient because I had my
Yeah.
hands already full. My hands were already full, just trying to balance out, trying to balance, trying to. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I can hear you. I can hear
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
trying to
So my
balance.
hands were,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, my hands were full
Yeah.
trying to balance entertainment
Yeah.
itself because I was, doing news reporting. I had a program I was anchoring,
Yeah.
entertainment news
Mashallah.
wise.
And your
And
kid.
so it meant I had to close late. I had a small baby with me at the time,
Yeah.
and I had to bring in my son to the office oftentimes, and just putting that extra hour to accommodate reporting core news, and I did that for years, as in for years before I got noticed and before what I was doing counted for something and was appreciated. And so I think sometimes in 2016, yeah, I think about 2016, yeah, if I'm not wrong. Um, it was Wale Soyinka's birthday, a Nobel laureate, Wale
Yeah,
Soyinka.
you're right. The
It was his
philosopher
birthday,
and playwright.
and at the time, we wanted like an interview that looked at his life, that
Yeah.
looked at the things that counted. The office wanted something,
Yeah.
and I remember my bosses. They were in a meeting room somewhere, and one of them just approached me and said that I'd been picked to host the interview with him. It felt really weird because I was like, well, I'm not sure I have the mental, because there were
Capacity.
people, there were people amongst us, who
Yeah.
had, long years of experience doing, such, interviews, and I felt like I was, ill-equipped for it at the time.
Yeah.
But then, my boss, I remember my boss, Mr. Bemega Ogunlaye, told me at the time that, well, I know you can do it. I feel like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm confident you can do it, and that was it. So I remember going for that interview at Freedom Park.
Yeah.
We met when Professor Chokole Shoyinka at Freedom Park at the time, and we had that sit down, and that sit down on its own was another turning point for me, because we came back with the rushes, and my bosses were so impressed with the kind of questions I asked. They were impressed with how I was not cowed by his huge
His God,
presence.
his God is
Exactly.
supreme, his godliness.
Exactly. As in, and
Every,
So
I
looking at the
brought out
dragon
the
and
best
being
in
like,
the man. You understand? As in, so yeah.
yeah, I
So
see.
basically, they really
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So Joke, I like to understand now, because one of the hallmark of a good journalist is spontaneity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, as a
Yeah.
journalist, they will just tell you, okay, your boss was supposed to interview President Buhari. Your boss is on his way. He's late. He's stuck in the hold up. Dust your ass. You're going to interview President. To the moment that you were told, what came into your mind? What did you do? What were your decisions? Because talking to Wale Soyinka, it's easier to interview Buhari, the president, than to go and sit
Yeah,
down with Wale Soyinka.
yeah, right.
Well,
That, you know, yeah.
well, I must say that there's no, if you want the best, if you want to bring out the best out of your interviews, you have to do a lot of research, and as spontaneous as it can get,
Yeah,
ensure that you are not caught on unawares, because it's very important. Now, I remember that I'd done a lot of leg work, researching Professor Wale Soyinka for that interview. It was his 80th birthday, of course. As in, I had to ask him questions that captured his life.
yeah,
What he was doing, what he had done, how he got to where he is right now. If he
yeah,
had regrets, it was just all encompassing, and I had to do a lot of research. I remember that he almost threw me off my off my feet
yeah,
when we got there early enough, but we're trying to locate where he was, and we couldn't. And we kept calling the person who had arranged the interview. And Prof just gets down from his car, and he was like, "Well, um, he was expecting us to have set up, but because we didn't meet anybody there, we were trying to be careful enough not to just bust into
Yeah,
the office and
yeah,
just do our thing, since we thought, okay, we had to be formal enough to respect
yeah,
the
of course.
the
He's a
privacy of the
god.
place and all that. You understand?
He's
As
a
in,
god.
so, but he got here and it was like, how you guys not set up? God, my heart skipped. I was like, I had to offer explanations. It took me some minutes
and your first day at
for
the
me to
job.
get balanced. You understand? As in, like, because it was my first interview, my first major interview, because I'd been doing interviews with entertainers, obviously,
Yeah,
and which was easily my tough.
yeah,
It was, entertainment was easily my tough, but it was something that was out of the ordinary for me, and
You were
so I felt
interviewing
like,
a god.
so I felt
that's
like I had to bring in my A game. I didn't want to disappoint my bosses, who had imposed, obviously thought a lot about me, for them to say, you should do this instead of somebody else. You
yeah,
should be the one doing this. And
that's
so I thought, it would be, really, really, to be a slap on their faces if I end up, spoiling this or ruining this. So I knew that I had to bring my A game on and all that. And that's exactly what I did. So with that interview, when we but it was a special. I think we rolled it for, I think, about close to an hour, as in close to 1 hour is what we wrote that interview for.
that's
And my bosses enjoyed it. They liked the audiences, were into it, and stuff like that. So when the opportunity came to start a show, the show was called the Sunday Interview. It was supposed to, have sit downs with the high and mighty in Nigeria, basically people who had, left a mark in the industry, be it sports, entertainment, politics, name it. As in, but it had to be someone who was influential enough and had built a name for themselves. When the opportunity came to start a show like that, it was very easy for my bosses to say I was a best fit, because they had seen what I did with the Wale Soyinka interview,
yeah,
and they just thought, oh, I think Joke can do this. It was obviously a lot of faith imposed in me at the time, because even when I was told I would be anchoring the show, I was like, oh, really?
that's
Why me? why me as a, but it was for me another step into something that was different. At the time, I was still doing my reporting, entertainment beat wise, human angle bits also, like a mix of both. So by the
Yeah.
time I moved into anchoring that show, a part had already been paved for me. So it was very easy for them to say, you know what, we think it's time for you to drop entertainment and face core reporting as well as this. So it was just easy for me to just make that journey. And that's how I started anchoring the Sunday interview. And then, just started doing core reporting, core news reporting. I was going to
Mashallah.
cover elections, which was very different from what was my background, which was, entertainment.
Yeah.
And so basically, what got me to where I am right now was just how that road kind of like paved out.
Yeah.
Because from then on,
eventually.
I wasn't restricted to entertainment anymore. I could do something that was much more than that. So basically, that's how it worked.
Mashallah.
Hmm.
Isaac, with all the story and going back to when Joke actually like exhibited her understanding of like God and a relationship with God, and that led transitively to work because you love God, God loves work, you love work. You
Hmm.
see, A relates to B relates to C, or you're someone's
I
sister, therefore
agree.
A relates to C.
Brian,
So
I
now,
totally agree with you.
yeah. So now, with that kind of understanding, it puts us in a reality where yes, through work we can sculpt our realities, and looking at the troubles that we have today, and be it racism, I almost said feminism. Hope that's not a problem. Racism, feminism, all of
It's
those
a
things.
problem to some people.
Yeah. So all of those things that we're
Quite a problem
facing
to some.
today,
Go ahead.
yeah, those actually are probably realities that are created because of a lack of understanding or the realities of sculpted for ourselves. So can you please, I would like to understand through the lens of your experience, how like a youth of today, especially a woman, uh, uh, can navigate through life, like what it means to set these goals and actually work on them, because we hear work hard, but that is very polymorphic and abstract. You say work hard, it means a lot of things, you see, but we really get to understand what it really means. So I really love to understand that, if you can do us the honor. Thank you.
Well, working hard for me represented, proving myself every day.
Okay.
And it could come in different ways. I remember my bosses used to say that I was always at work before 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And even though I had a baby, I ensured that I kept my son close to where I was working.
Uh-huh.
I was always at work. I would be at work before 7, and I would not leave the office till about 9, 10.
Uh-huh.
It was my everyday reality.
Mashallah.
And so I made arrangements for myself in a way that, and it was good enough that TVC where I was working at the time was really, really, really accommodating. So you could drop off kids. So my son's school bus would come and drop him off at work.
Wow.
You understand? As in, so it
Yeah.
was, I could maintain the family bond and still work. As in, but everybody would come in then and just see me at work at my desk with my son by my side, and I kept working. And it wasn't easy at those times. I was working Mondays,
Yeah.
weekends. I was Mondays to Fridays.
Yeah.
Weekends I was at work. You understand? We had off days during the week, of which I was able to like settle home chores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But basically, I even when I had to take on extra chores
Yeah.
at work, I ensured that my primary responsibilities were not affected.
Okay.
So I wasn't failing at my primary duties
Yeah.
in a
Such
way that
as.
anybody could. So I was reporting entertainment, I was reporting, I was producing entertainment, I
Yeah.
was anchoring an entertainment show.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also working on a story for core news. So I did it in such a way that you couldn't complain that, Joke, why didn't you deliver on your entertainment duties? And I would say, well, it's because I had to help core news do this.
Yeah.
I
I see.
ensure that if I had to do anything extra, it was out of my own time, my own personal time. I
Okay.
would rather suffer, you know,
Yeah.
than let my work, my original work, which was my primary responsibility, suffer. So it wasn't a case of, um, why didn't you do that? And I would say, oh, it's because so I ensured I was delivering on all fronts. It
Mashallah.
wasn't easy, but I had to put in the extra hours, the extra dedication. Everybody who knew me at the time always kept saying, okay, you like work, oh, okay, you like work. But I was passionate about, what I
Yeah.
was doing,
Uh-huh.
and it was important for me to deliver because I knew where I was going to, and I knew that it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm not going to sleep and fold my hands and these things will fall on my lap. I
Mashallah.
was very conscious of that I had to work my way through
Mashallah.
and earn anything that was going to come my way. So it was very easy. Most of my journey, people would say that everything that had come to me beyond God, that I actually did deserve it because I'd put in a lot in my work
But one would think that you
consciously.
go. One would think that you go to work at 7 o'clock and come back at 9 o'clock. One would basically think that you abandon your matrimonial, your wife responsibility and your motherly responsibility.
so so like I said, as in my son is like the closest person to me on earth. As in
Mashallah.
I, I I I find a way in the midst of all the craziness to accommodate all of these things as a and
Tell
my
us.
husband is the most understanding person. So weekends, when I'm not at work, I'm home cooking, stocking up the fridge,
Yeah.
ensuring that even when I'm not at home during the week, the home is flowing as perfectly as if I was there. You understand? As in, so
Yeah.
yeah, they are conscious of my work. I travel a lot because of work.
Yeah. Right.
I'm in and out of the country. I'm around the country. So, but I found a reading. I found a
Mashallah.
reading that
Made
works in a
music
way
out
that
of it.
nothing suffers.
Mashallah.
Nothing suffers. As in, so I'm accommodating. I'm spending quality time with my son because when I was working in TVC, he was always by my side. Now I make time to come back home as early as I can get. We talk, I get into his studies and every other thing like that. So,
Mashallah.
I found a pattern
Yeah.
because it's been more than 10 years. By now, I have a pattern that, works effectively. I'm able to plan when I'm out on the field, I'm calling, I'm
Yeah.
checking in, what's happening. You understand? As in, so, nothing suffers in the real sense of it. You
Mashallah.
understand? As in, and of course, with God, all things are
Yeah.
possible. So most times, even when I'm stressed
Mashallah.
out, I come back. If my son is sleeping, I go to his room, I check on him. You understand? As in, have night talks with my husband.
Yeah.
Just find a way to balance everything out.
Mashallah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's it. So now is it? I think we should round it up. Uh. Uh. Now, as a craftsperson, your craft is like journalism. It takes a lot of you have shown us some of the conscious how conscious you are about it. So now I for example I'm a computer programmer. The way I look at a computer is different from the way you would look at it, maybe. Perhaps the way Isaac would look at it. To me, the computer is like a servant, a ninja. When I think a ninja, since I can dress it however I want, that I can discuss with it. But the interface could be the keyboard or the mouse, but I can tell it what I want it to do. I need to do it for me. You see, so that's my relationship with the computer, and then it helps me express myself to it. So I'd like to understand your relationship with journalism or journalism, however to pronounce it. Like, what is it to you? How did the relationship evolve? The most critical points and how you handle it today.
Well, for me, journalism, and this is something that is still ongoing for me.
Yeah.
Journalism for me is a tool,
Okay.
and for me, it's a tool for changing the world.
Okay.
I believe that
Yeah.
by telling stories, you can begin to attract people's attention to the things that matter. You can
Okay.
create the country that you want, the world that you want, that you desire,
Okay.
that you think should be. You can effectively, draw people's attention to how things are done wrongly, how things are
Okay.
done badly, and how things should be. So these days we talk about solution journalism. You're
Yeah.
not just, highlighting the problems. You're also talking about how these problems can be solved. And I think that, if we go in that direction,
Yeah.
it's we can see the world that we all desire, the world that we all, deserve to live in. So for
Yeah.
me, journalism is a tool for change.
Yeah.
It's a tool for effective change. It's a tool for, getting the right leaders into place. It's a tool for getting people to, rise up to their responsibility. It's a
Yeah.
tool for teaching people their rights. It's a tool for ending things like racism. It's a tool for drawing attention to the ills of government, the good of government, and generally things how things should be done in the real sense of it.
Mashallah. and
I
and
like
and
to.
that brings me
Go ahead.
now
I know
to
you
this
have one.
part. Yeah, sorry, Isaac. Uh, so again, this whole thing of idealism and realism. So yes, that tool can make you achieve all of those, but the world is in suffering. Like we're suffering, and I remember when we're saying that God actually, like in handling the world, we can imagine the might of God. And one of the pieces that always strikes me when I think of that is that suffering is actually the implementation of divine justice, in the sense that since God had already created the world since back then, He knows what will happen. Every drop of rain that is to touch any leaf or any point on earth, He knows it at any point. So, but whatever happens, there's divine justice in place, just like the laws of gravity. You see. So with all of this in place, you probably have that understanding. But when you come to reality, as a journalist, you know where you can what you can achieve with journalism, but the world is suffering. So how do you reconcile that? Because you're in the field that can
Well,
bring this change, but you actually
to,
experience it.
totally, I agree. And I think that it's the real essence why we should never lose our soul.
Okay.
As people, we have to be connected. And even as a journalist, I get moved when I hear stories of injustice. You
Yeah.
understand? As in, I can't change the world. I effectively can, but I can tell one story and change one story,
Okay.
one person's story. Now that one person could significantly change his community. And I'll
Hmm.
tell you a story, as in, I
Very good.
remember doing a story on child labor. That's the story that earned me the Calvary Prize for Best Reporter in 2017.
Mashallah.
It was
Mashallah.
basically a story of a boy who, I told the story of a lot of children who
Yeah.
were on the streets of Lagos
Yeah.
hawking stuff when they should be in school. You understand? As in when
Yeah.
when their peers would have luxuries like watching TV,
Yeah.
they were out there fending for their families. And I remember telling that story through the eye of one boy. His name is Ifeanyi.
Okay.
And Ifeanyi had lost his dad, who was a policeman who saved this country and died in the line of duty. And his mom had remarried and left him with an aunt who I remember meeting him on the streets of Lagos as at 10 past 10 at night, he was hawking oranges. And I remember sitting down on the culvert at Beggar. It was Beggar bus stop in Lagos, and we had a conversation that was recorded that I put into a story. Now, from that story, people who watched that story felt really touched, really touched. I remember getting a call from a manager of FCMB in Kano.
Yeah.
He saw that story and was interested in paying for Ifeanyi's school.
Yeah.
So as in he picked Ifeanyi, as in
Oh. Yeah.
Ifeanyi is in SS3 as I speak to you. At the
Oh my
time,
God.
he was in GSS1 or GSS2 at the time
Yeah.
and was having serious issues. He's graduating this year.
Oh my
Mashallah.
God.
Now, we keep in touch. He gets in touch with me. He's being schooled presently by someone who watched that video,
Oh my God.
Let him
who
come
reached
here and
out to
talk.
me and said they were interested.
Yeah.
So, this is one change. One life is changed. Now,
Yeah.
tomorrow, if I think that, I'm an investment of someone put time into me to get me educated, someone,
Hmm.
and it decide, oh, you know what? I'm now a graduate and I have a good job. I want to set up a foundation for children who are victims of child labor.
Yeah.
That is how one story could change a whole community
Yeah.
and could change a whole narrative.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
if I, becomes a president, for instance, if I would make strict laws, against child labor because it's something that has impacted him and he's seen a different kind of life. just through
mm,
one person's story.
mm, mm,
So see
mm.
how these things could
Mashallah. Yeah,
spiral
I see.
into a greater good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Now, if we bother about the size of the problem,
yeah,
if we are so concerned about the size of the problem, we will never solve it because it will be too enormous for us to even face.
yeah.
Mm,
Mashallah.
mm,
But if we little we can
Yeah,
to do the little we can to change things in our corner, would realize that it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow. We'll find that we've created the community of people that we want, deserve, community that we desire. And so instead of complaining and saying things are bad, things are wrong, what can we do in each of our little corners?
mashallah.
In your immediate environment that could translate to a great. I think it's something
wow.
that we should all,
Yeah,
desire,
Network is
desire
getting
for
jealous.
and continue to work towards.
yeah, mashallah. Oh wow, thanks. That's
Okay, we
that.
have taken a lot of your time,
Yeah.
and you've really deposited a lot of knowledge here. I know Brian still has some perspectives he wants to
Hello?
share, and also on. Yeah,
No, I said we can go on and close. Yeah,
we can
but
go on.
yeah, I mean, no, I'm saying that we have used our time. Thanks a lot. Like, there's a lot that we can talk, but that's why we always have, like, you could consider this the first out of countless number of episodes where we would like connect and share information, and this is like a database. Later, we ourselves can come and log in and take this information and re-inspire ourselves.
Yes, and Joket, so in this moment, we always like,
Let me
okay,
admit
she's
it.
gone. Maybe when she
Yeah,
comes back,
she's coming back. Yeah, that was
you
really it,
know,
man. Like, today's one, I'm really grateful. Today feels like a Monday to me. Uh,
how is that? Yes,
thanks,
so
Joker.
Joket,
Yeah,
are you here?
yeah, she's
Can you hear us? Hello, Joker.
she's joining.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, so we're saying that Brian was saying that we've taken a lot of time, we've let a lot of your time, and we would like, I mean, to let you go back to your family,
Mashallah.
so you continue with them too, and to say that we have not touched even half of what you know, what we want to tap,
A
what the world
fraction.
should know from you,
Yeah.
you know, and we want to say here that please, you should come back to Topo Spaces. Anytime you have anything that you want to say, just come back to Topo Spaces and you share. And in this junction, we always say that if there's anything that you want to say that we have not asked you, because anything that you want to share with the world, we are happy, I mean, to hear.
Well, I really don't have much to say because uh, plus
Oh, internet.
Oh,
Only the most important point.
network. Network is jealous.
Yeah.
I would like to say that
Yeah.
there's value and yeah, putting their best and whatever. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please, please.
Yeah,
Can
we
you hear
can.
me now?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you
Yes.
now.
yes.
So I was basically saying that I was basically saying that hard work and consistency. There's so much value in hard work and consistency, and let's all keep trying to change that little thing. Don't say it's so much of a huge problem. Can you change that little thing in your own little corner? That small thing. You'll be shocked at how much good it could translate into.
Yeah. Mashallah. Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Thank you for that. When Joker said she
That's
doesn't
it.
have much to say, what came to mind was because you're a woman of action, so that's why you don't have much to say. But thank you very much, Joker. Please consider this as one out of a countless number of episodes that we can have. to us and to Isaac, to me too. This is therapeutic. It's not like work. We can always just join in here, chat, and ginger ourselves and continue with our daily life. So thank you very much. It's just an honor to host you, and we hope we host you again for future episodes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, if she can see, can she see us?
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Shout out to all those who joined to make this episode a reality. Have a good one. Bye.